Both listening and feedback are really concerned with communication. And communication is deeply affected by our intent. We know that in any situation, one can either construct your intent on what you're getting, or you can construct your intent on what you're giving. Constructing your intent on what you're giving is not about being nice, it is about being appropriate. And that means that you act consistently with either the generosity or the courage that's operative in the situation that you're in. And correspondingly, to construct your intent on what you're getting is to either be selfish or cowardly with how you deal with the situation. Now, this has a direct implication, therefore, with regard to the whole issue of giving feedback, because clearly when you're giving feedback, you're speaking. And this idea of generosity, therefore, means that fundamentally there's a rule of kindness, which is at issue when you are giving feedback. And secondly, there's a rule of honesty that is at issue. You've got to speak your truth. However, all of this is predicated on something else which is very important, and that is the ability to listen. Listening is really kind of a bedrock that all of this stands on. And it's important to bear this in mind, because when talking about communication, topics on the agenda are very often to communicate unambiguously with a purpose to the right audience at the right time and through the right media. Now, while all of this is true, the key to communication, though, is listening. And it's about being unconditional about this, about suspending your own agenda and for the agenda of the other. It's the ultimate generous behavior. However, going further to this idea of kindness and honesty, kindness means that you give your feedback in a spirit of generosity. The self deals with the other in a spirit of appreciativeness, and you grant significance to the other while you are basically giving them this feedback. The idea of honesty, the courage that's required for you to be honest, means that you speak your truth and you avoid expediency, and you are firm when necessary without being demeaning. This last point about being firm without being demeaning is very important, because one very often hears people sort of being really rude in an interaction, and they say, well, I'm just being honest. Well, honesty is not an excuse for discourtesy. This also then has an implication for how one receives feedback. And the first thing is, if you want to receive feedback positively, then you use receptive attention, suspend your own agenda. In order to create the space for this to happen, rather than to content space, decide on the outcome that you want and put it aside. Quieten your internal dialogue and give absolute attention to the other person. Be present in the moment. Now, when we see this issue of feedback as a gift, there are a number of implications to this. The first is that you accept the gift unconditionally. You don't look a gift horse in the mouth, so to speak. You say thank you when you get it, but finally you get to choose what to do with the gift. So there is an element of choice in this. You may find what is being said to you useful, or you might find it not useful, and so you get to accept and use it as you need to. Do bear in mind, though, that there's a natural process that's at issue when we're dealing with feedback. It's normal to initially find what's being said unpleasant and to deny what's being said. One would then generally defend. I'm not really like this. This isn't quite how it is. And that sort of defense softens into a sort of a desire to justify what you've done. And it's only once one's gone through that process that you, if you like, get to the point where you actually get an insight. You see the usefulness of what's being said to you, and that then creates the conditions for one to change. And if one considers what this means in terms of our discourse about the distinction between getting and giving, when you're denying, basically you are resisting what's being said to you. Your attention is on what you're getting. When you're defending, it's the same thing. Your attention is on what you're getting. And when you're justifying, it's the same thing. However, there's a shift that happens the moment you start kind of getting an insight, you're seeing, because in a sense we have argued that what sits behind the ability to give is the seeing things as they are. And it's precisely this ability to see things as that they are that enables us to change. So do bear this in mind when you are dealing with feedback, that there is a natural process going on. And don't assume that your initial knee-jerk reaction is the appropriate way of dealing with what's being said to you.